Almas, hello. Welcome to the studio.
We are a biotech/medtech focused venture capital firm. The U.S. market is the largest in terms of capital exit strategy. At the moment, there are no approved technologies for brain tissue regeneration after severe ischemic stroke. We're planning to conduct phase 2b trial here in Kazakhstan. We are capable of receiving permission in order to conduct clinical trials in the country within 2 to 4 months. We're trying to bring new technologies in this country and to promote our country as a reliable, credible base for clinical trial conduction.
Welcome back to the Astana Times YouTube channel. This is your host Asel Stubaldna, and our guest in the studio tonight is Almas Kenessary, a managing partner of FutureMed Ventures company, the United States fund which specializes in investing across healthcare sectors globally. Almas, thank you very much for joining us tonight in the studio.
Pleased to meet you.
As I know, FutureMed Ventures has been established just recently, and it was established in the state of Delaware in the United States, which is known for its quite favorable corporate laws. Could you explain to us what the strategic goals of the fund, how it operates, and how does Kazakhstan benefit from its activities?
Thank you, Asel. In terms of strategic goals, first of all, we are a biotech/medtech focused venture capital firm. And I would say that our unique de-risking concept aims, first of all, it is significantly hastening not only Kazakh scientific progress, but global. I mean, like, we've got biotech, medtech companies from all over the world, and especially from U.S. market. Due to our de-risking concept, we first conduct significantly lower in terms of cost clinical trials, and let's say 10 to 30 times cheaper trials in Kazakhstan, and at least twice faster trials, because we reduce all the bureaucracy, all the bureaucratic procedures in our country, thus living with just the pure experiment. And this is why we first conduct super cheap and super fast trials in Kazakhstan, and subsequently selecting only those technologies that show their significant clinical results. I mean, like, we are focused specifically on phase 2 clinical trials, and during phase 2 the primary endpoint of a clinical trial is the efficacy. So we select technologies that show really high efficacy in comparison to placebo or standard of care. Only after that we take these technologies and we either, we do have two options. Either FDA accepts our results. If no, it's not a problem as well, since remember, we're still super cheap and super fast. We simply repeat the trial in the United States. But now we have a high level of confidence that this technology works. Yeah, it's not a casino anymore as the average VC funds, biotech VC funds in US do.
And why the United States in the first place?
Well, simply because US market is the largest in terms of capital exit strategy. I mean, you must understand that healthcare services in general, and let's say drugs to be precise, are extremely expensive in the United States. Well, I would even say that in comparison to some advanced West European countries, the difference may go as high as 5 to 8 times. Okay, so, and due to this, let's say, if we receive an FDA approval for a specific drug, that means that the valuation of the company that holds the patent, the rights, IP rights for the drug, is increasing significantly. Yeah, so this is why we're choosing US market to conduct the trials, to receive the FDA approval, first of all. And generally, I mean, like, if a drug has an FDA approval, it is accepted in the most of the countries. Well, yeah. EMA recently, European Medical Association recently, requesting to conduct, to repeat the trial in European countries to receive the European Union approval, the CE mark. Yes, but overall, I mean, generally, most of the countries, they accept the results of FDA approval, FDA approved clinical trials.
In one of your latest interviews, you revealed that FutureMed Ventures is now working with a startup in the United States, which is focusing on developing the technology, quite groundbreaking technology for brain cell regeneration after ischemic strokes. Could you share with us how did this collaboration come about and what the impact from this technology do you foresee?
Well, first of all, it's not a startup company.
Okay.
I mean, like, we're not dealing with startups. I mean, if a biotech company has a product in its pipeline that already passed completed phase 1 trial, I wouldn't call it a startup. Yeah. And in terms of collaboration, yes, you're right. I wouldn't say that this technology is a revolutionary technology in this sphere, in this field, because at the moment there are no approved technologies for brain tissue regeneration after severe ischemic stroke, especially. And ischemic stroke in general is a huge burden. I mean, there are two types of stroke, hemorrhagic and ischemic. It's, well, depending on the sources, it's from 70 to 90% of all strokes in general. So it's a huge burden, not only, I mean, for the U.S. population, but globally. And regarding the impact, well, again, as I said, stroke in general is a huge burden for not only healthcare systems or the population globally. Let's say in the United States, insurance companies on average spend something around from $40 to up to $120,000 per each patient rehabilitation after post-stroke rehabilitation. And if we would succeed and prove that technology works, now we're planning to conduct phase 2B trial here in Kazakhstan. The sample size is 120 patients. That's a placebo-controlled double-blinded trial. Yes, so if we show high efficacy, we would submit for a conditional approval to the FDA agency. And this means that U.S. population shall have the access to such revolutionary technology. And again, our preliminary calculation of the cost of the injection, and that's a single injection therapy, just one single injection. Calculation, the valuation, the cost of the therapy would be something around $15,000 to $20,000. That's it. So again, you must understand that it's a huge impact. Not only first of all, it's a huge impact from economic point of view, but you must understand that, I mean, like, if a patient shows no significant positive dynamics within first 6 months after the stroke occurrence, the chances of the patient to rehabilitate totally, they're super low. Yes, and there are cases, especially after severe ischemic stroke, with, you know, like left-sided, right-sided impairments. That means that people are not able to brush their teeth or, I mean, like, eat, service themselves. And we are giving chances to such patients, a chance to rehabilitate and to become an active cell of the society once again.
And what is the estimated timeline? Because you mentioned that the phase 2 and the launch of the product, could you share with us too on those details?
Well, according to our roadmap, we're planning to launch the trial sometime late this year. The duration of the trial would be, I mean, like, the first injections are planned on December this year. Then we're following up the patients within 12 months, 6 months of efficacy and 12 months of side effects. After that, we're planning to submit the file to the FDA, Californian FDA to be precise. And well, on average, this procedure takes something around 6 months. And we hope to receive an FDA approval, conditional approval, since it's phase 2 trial. And final BLA or NDA, if it's a chemical drug, is granted by FDA after phase 3 trial usually. But sometimes, if let's say socioeconomic impact of the implementation of the drug is significant, then this drug can be granted a conditional approval. Yes, so we are hoping to receive this conditional approval sometime by the end of 2026. I mean, like, We're planning to complete the trial in 2025 and receive the conditional approval by the end of 2026. And let's say 2027 will be the year of first distribution of the drug among the U.S. population.
You mentioned just earlier that you plan to conduct clinical trials in Kazakhstan. Could you elaborate why Kazakhstan and what specific advantages can Kazakhstan offer?
Well, okay. Well, of course, you must understand that Kazakhstan is not United States or Japan in terms of healthcare quality, services of medical services, quality of medical services. But, I mean, like, we're not Mozambique either. You know, according to Johns Hopkins, Kazakhstan is on the 55th place amongst all countries in the world. And in some sectors, like cardiovascular surgery, for example, I would say that we can even easily compete with the U.S. as well. Nowadays, I've got a lot of partners, colleagues, friends coming from the United States, visiting Astana. And these are not just common folks. These are head of clinics, vascular surgeons, etc. I mean, like, people that know the field. When we take them to our cardiovascular surgery clinics, they go, wow, like, you know, like, they say even 10% of facilities, like clinical facilities in the United States, are not capable of conducting such sophisticated operations. I mean, like, Kazakhstan conducts transplantation of artificial hearts, artificial ventriculars. We were the first country in the world to transplant donor heart after artificial heart, etc. So, and in addition to this, well, almost all of our partner clinics, I mean our fund's partner clinics, they have the GCI accreditation, Joint Commission International Accreditation. And this is an U.S. standard of health services quality. And you must understand that not each clinic, even in the United States, has the GCI accreditation. Why Kazakhstan? Well, first of all, you know, one of our portfolio companies, they've developed a bioresorbable stent for peripheral arteries. Initially, they were seeking for $50 million to conduct their trial in the United States. I told the guys, okay, first we'll conduct super cheap and super fast trial in Kazakhstan. You'll prove the efficacy of the stent, I mean the radial power, the restenosis rate, etc. If everything goes well, then we will repeat the trial in the United States. FDA approved, expensive, US-based clinical trial. So why is it possible? Well, we're launching this trial in December as well. The sample size is 60 patients, 60 operations. The overall budget of the trial is $378,000. Can you imagine the difference?
Yeah,
50
the
million.
difference is huge.
Yes, versus less than $400,000. Why is it possible? Well, simply because operation for stent implantation into the peripheral arteries in the United States begins from $15,000, $20,000 up to $110,000. Well, depending on the difficulty, the surgeon, the clinic, etc. The same operation, same quality operation, even using the same stents, that's either Alluvia or Medtronic's nickel titanium stents, in Kazakhstan is less than $3,000. Okay, second reason is the speed. I mean, we cannot hasten the trial itself because we're following the FDA-approved protocols in accordance with GCP good clinical practice requirements, Helsinki Declaration, etc., etc. But we do decrease the bureaucracy of the procedure and the operational terms significantly. Well, first, me myself, I used to be the head of Department for Medical Science at the Ministry of Healthcare, and I am the author of legislation regulating clinical trials in our country. So when I composed the code, I tried to reduce the level of bureaucracy as much as possible. Thus, today, we are capable of receiving permission in order to conduct clinical trials in our country within 2 to 4 months. In the United States, in order to receive an IND, investigational new drug designation, usually it takes like 9 to 12 months on average.
Longer.
Two is that Kazakh clinics are, let's say, significantly more available. What does that mean? I mean, if you're an early stage biotech, medtech company back in US, it takes, I don't know, 1.5 up to 2 years to negotiate all terms and conditions with the clinics. Why? Well, because healthcare system in the United States is mostly private. decentralized. The clinics are rich. They are super selective in terms of, super selective for proposals to conduct clinical trials on their base. So what happens is that this poor biotech, early stage biotech, medtech companies, they try to convince these clinics, and these clinics are being bombarded by these offers to conduct clinical trials, you see? This is why they spend so much time. And you must understand that Kazakh clinics are not, we offer high quality of medical services, but Kazakh healthcare system is mostly governmental. So the budget comes from the Republican budget. And you must understand that we're bringing additional sources of income for the facility. So they are super, let's say, interested in partnership with us. This is why we're not like spending 1.5 to 2 years. We're like signing agreements with our clinical sites within weeks. And the last, and I would say the most important thing, is the patient recruitment time. You see, again, another example, this ischemic stroke technology. The company is based in San Diego. They've completed their phase 1/2A trial in U.S. already. So now the sample size of our phase 2B trial in Kazakhstan is 120 patients. CEO of the company always tells me, like, no, Almas, if we were to conduct the trial back in U.S., we would be recruiting this amount of patients within 2 to 3 years. Here in Kazakhstan, we're planning to recruit this 120 patients within 3 months.
Why is it so?
Why? Well, again, because first, because we have a centralized healthcare system in Kazakhstan. Therefore, I've got an access to the post-stroke ischemic patients database, so I can reach out to any of the patients. But what's more important, is that who's recruiting patients? The physicians. The physician that is supervising post-stroke patient. How does it happen? The lady or gentleman, the physician, picks up the phone, calls the post-stroke patient, and tells him, okay, we've got a new technology coming. We are to test it here in Kazakhstan. Would you like to take part in it, in this clinical trial? And for them, according to our inclusion criteria, only patients with severe ischemic stroke are included. And this means that we're giving chance, and in most cases, the last chance for these patients to recover. Yeah, so I'm paying, let's say, significantly less amount of bonuses to these physicians in order to recruit one patient. In the United States, I don't know, it would cost me significantly more money, and not per patient, but on a salary basis. And on average, they would hire me, recruit me some 1, 2, maximum 3 patients per month. You see, that's the situation. Because, the same situation as with the clinics. The clinical sites in the U.S., they are being bombarded by offers to conduct clinical trials on their base. But you must understand that the patients, U.S. citizens, are being bombarded by offers to take part in the clinical trial as well. And our citizens, they don't have this amount of offers. You see, that's the point.
And you mentioned there would be how many?
120 patients.
20 patients.
Exactly.
And how many are in the placebo group? And
well, you see, every time when you design the trial, let's say, you take some additional patients, like in order to have a statistically significant sample size, 100 patients is enough. Well, ideally 50 in control group, 50 in treatment group, placebo control group, treatment group. But we take 120 because you must understand that a clinical trial is conducted in a voluntarily basis. Yeah. So usually something like 10 to 20 patients, they at some point of time of the clinical trial, they refuse to take part anymore. They are not interested anymore. They say, okay, we changed our mind, etc., etc. So this is why we take 120 patients, hoping that at least we'll have something around, let's say, I don't know, my projection is that we'll have something like 48, 51 in control group, 45, 55 in treatment group, plus minus. So the control and the treatment group must be, well, approximately the same in terms of number in terms of numbers as well.
So if clinical trials are conducted in Kazakhstan, which you mentioned the lower prices for lower cost for clinical trials here in the country, how would it affect the fate of the product back in the United States?
Well, again, first of all, as I already told you, that we are hastening the overall, let's say, scientific progress of U.S. biotech and medtech market. I mean, like, just one example. On average, phase 2 trial back in U.S. Costs something around $20 million. For the same amount of money, we can test up to, I don't know, 30 to 40 technologies here in Kazakhstan. You see? Thus, well, simply saying, the chances of us finding a technology that works is 20 to 40 times higher than average US VC fund or just average US technology. Yes. But in terms of US population, you must understand that the cost of the drug, prices of the drug, the price of the drug back in US always includes all the, let's say, all the expenses on unsuccessful trials back in US. Let's say some big pharma guys, they are investing in 100 projects, in 100 drugs that are all aimed towards Alzheimer, for example, and only one succeeds. What happens is that they include the expenses for all failed 99 trials into the cost of into the cost price of this one successful drug. So this is why the prices. I mean, there are Medicare, Medicaid programs in the United States, but still, it's a market economy. So there are no really strong legislation or regulations to limit the drug prices in the United States. This is why, there are technologies like, for example, CAR-T, the DNA modification of T helper that is aimed against one of the subtypes of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, B-cell oncology, B-oncology lymphoma, one of blood cancers. And the cost of one treatment course in the United States begins from something like $300,000 up to $500,000 or even $600,000. That's just one treatment, you see? This is why, but using an alternative clinical sites, international clinical sites, significantly decreases the cost of the trials. Thus, therefore, significantly decreasing the price of the drugs in the end.
And what do you think are some of the challenges that companies can face in conducting clinical trials internationally? Let's say we're speaking now about Kazakhstan. What are some maybe legislative aspects that companies should consider?
No.
Are there any?
GCP is GCP everywhere. Good clinical practice. Okay. I cannot be 100% confident when we speak about legislations of other countries, but as for Kazakhstan, I would say that U.S., Canadian, and Kazakh legislations are identical. U.S. have an IRB, we have a Central Ethics Committee. U.S. have an FDA, we have a National Center for Drug and Medical Devices Expertise, etc., etc. So all the legislation is written in accordance with GCP. Okay. Yeah.
And could you share with us maybe some of the challenges that you are personally now facing in preparation for the clinical trials here in Kazakhstan and in general across the project?
Yeah. Well, you see, I wouldn't say that it's a challenge today, but let's say some 3-5 years ago, due to the fact that clinical trials market, Kazakh clinical trials market was, well, I would say severely undeveloped. Thus, the society considered clinical trials to be something, hilarious or negatively notorious due to the fact that these are experiments on people and blah, blah, blah. But you see, nowadays, at least physicians, they do understand that conducting clinical trials on the patients of, let's say, specific ethnicity is super important for this specific ethnicities, at least in terms of pharmacogenetics. One example is warfarin, is a thrombus formation inhibitor, quite popular. One of the indications, I mean, when it's used is after large operation, large wound. Well, because you know that compensatory of a human body is the concentration of thrombocytes in this region, because they need to form thrombs in order to for the wound to close to recover. So, but when there's a lot of thrombs in one are concentrated in one region, there's a risk of one thumb running away from this place, and let's say when it blocks some thin coronary vessel, coronary artery, there's a chance of heart attack, and even with a little lethal effect as well. Or when it blocks vascular cerebrovascular artery, you can develop ischemic stroke as well, and one can die from it easily. So again, during the post-stroke period, such patients are being prescribed warfarin in order to make them, to reduce the amount of thrombocytes a bit.
Yeah.
So there was a study according to which it was proved that people of Japanese ancestry, Japanese ethnicity, the dosage of warfarin for them is 3.5 milligrams per day. The dosage for North American Caucasians is 5.5. The Caucasians have significantly thicker blood than the Japanese. So what happens is that when a patient of a Japanese descent, if he would receive warfarin in accordance with Caucasian dosage, what happens? Well, I mean, like, first he has too thin blood, and the wound is not recovering, is not healing. But what's more important is that whenever we consume, let's say, dry food, what happens is that we damage the mucous membrane of esophagus and stomach. And well, usually the mucous membrane, the mucous layer of esophagus, they have significant regenerative capabilities. So these micro wounds, they recover within hours. But they don't recover when your blood is too thin. And what happens is that the inner layer of esophagus, of your gut, stomach, whatever, is filled with this micro wounds, not recovering. The blood, gut infection adds to this blood, so you can imagine what happens there. But what's even more important is that one can develop hemorrhagic stroke because of the perforation when the cerebrovascular artery is being torn. That's what happened. But when a Caucasian guy consumes warfarin based on Japanese dosage, what happens is that he just has low dosage, insignificant dosage. That means that it makes no sense taking this prescribed drug. So this is why conducting clinical trials, well, of course, not all drugs have this pharmacogenetic features. I mean, based on different sources, on average, 10 to 30% of all drugs in the world do have this pharmacogenetic features, especially the ones that are prescribed for oncology, immune oncology drugs. Yes.
You just mentioned earlier that the underdeveloped Kazakh clinical trials market just a few years ago. Could you share with us what do you think is the current state of the clinical trials market in Kazakhstan?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's booming at the moment, but well, the situation is improving because we're trying to bring new technologies in this country and to promote our country as a reliable, credible base for clinical trial conduction, for very inexpensive and fast clinical trial conduction. Again, hastening the global scientific progress in the sphere of biotech, healthcare in general. Yes.
And what is the ultimate goal of the project, of the technology that you're now working on? What do you plan to do once, if it is proved and all the procedures are completed?
Well, for me, as a Kazakh citizen, my dream is to implement it in the clinical practice, Kazakh clinical practice, and it's not a commercial project or something. We are super happy to grant the licensing rights to the Ministry of Healthcare, yes, so that they would be able to, so that our population, that Kazakhstanis would be granted with access to this technology. As a fund, I'm interested to receive the FDA approval for the drug, and then we would be super happy for any exit strategy. I mean, whether it's M&A, mergers and acquisition with some big pharma guys, maybe IPO, maybe even L&A, it's a licensing and acquisition. When you license out the drug, the technology to the big pharma guys. Well, it depends on the level of efficacy, level of interest from the potential acquirers, etc. Yeah, it all depends on that.
Thank you very much, Almas, for this insightful conversation. That's all of my questions tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.